What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. Today I have my good friend and neighbor with me, Miss Stephanie, who is going to tell us all things cows and how she got involved. And all the cows that you see on my Instagram, those are hers. So we are going to dive into that for sure. But I mainly wanted to talk to her because she is also a female car salesman. And I don't know that there is another term for a female car salesman. But yeah, she's been doing it for years, and I find that very interesting since it's very predominantly male-driven. So we're going to dive into that with her right now, guys. Here we go. All right, guys, I have Stephanie with me today. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Jonna.
So first, I wanted to get into talking about you being a female car salesman and also a farmer. But everyone knows that I'm vocabulary. What's the word I'm trying to say? Challenged. Anyways, clearly couldn't come up with the word. But is it still called a car salesman if you're a woman?
I'm actually a salesperson.
Okay. So it's not a car. Okay.
Yes. They used to have like the Salesman of the Year award and all that. And I had them change it on my trophy to Salesperson of the Year.
Okay. So it's not like a thing where they would say a saleswoman or something like that.
No.
They just changed it to person.
Just person.
All right, so we're going to go way back in the day. Not saying you're old. We're just going all the way back. So where were you born originally?
So I was born in South Bend, Indiana. Born and raised and grew up there and have some family still there, some in Nashville. And
So where did you go after Indiana? Like, how did you make it to Alabama?
Okay, so started selling cars in Indiana.
So how long ago?
18 years ago.
Because you've been doing this 18 years now?
18 years I've been selling cars. And I started out there and worked my way through several different jobs in sales a lot of times, and then fell into the car business, and we'll get into that later, I guess. And when I was married to my third husband, which I'm currently married to, love him. He's fantastic. We needed change. He's in the car business as well. 2008 through 2010, the car business got really, really rough up there. I mean, people...
But this was in Indiana.
In Indiana.
Okay, yep. So you met him in Indiana.
Yes,
okay.
We sold cars together.
Okay.
And we ended up moving to my mother's in Nashville, Tennessee, and selling cars there. Well, we got recruited by Woody Anderson Ford, by one of the sales managers there. Ran into Daryl and he says, we want you to come to Alabama and sell cars. So my husband says, we're going to go check this out. Had anybody told me that I would live in Alabama, I'd have told them they were crazy.
Okay.
It just was not what I thought of, when I was younger, saying that's going to be my destination. I can't wait. I'm going to, the big city of Huntsville, Alabama. But I love it here.
Yeah, it's definitely growing.
Yes,
sure.
I have everything that I need. Nashville was too big.
Yes.
I mean, traffic was horrible.
That's how I felt when I lived there.
Yeah, it was overwhelming.
Yes.
There were things you wanted to do, and it says, okay, well, that should be 10 minutes away, and an hour and a half later, you're still not to your destination. So,
and having to leave an hour and a half before work when you live 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
that was annoying.
Yes.
So you started out selling cars in Indiana, but is that what when you were growing up and you're dreaming of what you want to do, were you like, I want to be a car salesman?
No, I wanted to get married to a rich man and have lots of babies. That was my plan. I was going to pop out a whole litter of kids.
You're going to have that MRS degree.
Yes, and I actually didn't go to college because that was my plan. I was going to be a kept woman and just raise a family.
Where did you get that idea though? Like when you're growing up, where did you get that idea? Because that was kind of the thought when you were younger. Especially, I think it was even kind of taught that a little bit, not a lot. I think it was kind of getting better as I was growing up.
It was an option anyway.
But that like my grandmother, I remember her being like, that's what she was going to do. Like she was a secretary and she was trying to find her husband, and that's what she was kind of a professional wife. She married a lot of people and dated a lot of people, and and so where did you growing up remember like that's where I want? Did you see it on TV? Did your mom?
Actually, it was a very rebellious thing.
Okay.
Because my mom was very career oriented growing up when I was a child. She's been in the fitness industry. She's been a yoga instructor. She's been aerobics, very health and wellness, and she always worked. Even when we were babies, she converted our garage into a yoga studio.
Oh, cool.
And that's what she did. And I think she babysat the neighborhood kids or something. But so she was always very career oriented and career minded. And I think I just wanted to go in the total opposite direction.
Okay.
They wanted me to focus on what are you going to do and you can be a professional. Love the fact that my parents growing up told me I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't have that option.
Right.
I mean, I remember growing up, so I was the first one to graduate college from my family. Well, my mom did go to a community college, but she went years later and got an accounting degree, but doesn't even use it. So she did graduate college, but then I was the only one out of all my brothers and sisters who went to college. And I'm not even sure why I chose that path other than I was following an ex-boyfriend to a college town. And so I was like, well, everyone else here goes to college. So, I'd already decided I was going into nursing because that's what we did in our small town. It was either you were a nurse or you worked at a factory. And that was kind of your only two options. And I didn't want to grow up the way my parents grew up, very poor, working paycheck to paycheck. So I knew that I had to go to college. I didn't have a choice unless I wanted to stay and do that, which was meaning getting married at 18 years old, 17, 18 years old, and becoming that wife kept woman, but maybe not in the best situation because there wasn't a lot of money in the town that I'm from.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess there is money but it's like older money.
Gotcha.
Like that's where people retire to, not when you grow up there. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. People from Winchester are probably like, shut the hell up. You don't even, probably not. But yeah, so I find that interesting that you just did that rebelliously, but you also came from a very good home where they wanted you to make a career and you're like, no.
Yeah, not that I didn't catch any flack for, okay, I'm going to move to California and marry this guy that you have met once or twice. And I mean, oh gosh, it was something else, and it was like, what is your plan? Because of course my parents encouraged me to get good grades and they wanted me to go to college. They would have been thrilled had I done that, but I barely made it through high school for lack of interest.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I couldn't or wasn't qualified or wouldn't pass, whatever. I would cut school and I would go to work.
Because you were just like, this bores me. Bye.
Pretty much. And looking back, that was probably not the best decision, but at the time I knew I wanted things and I knew I wanted to make money. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, the opportunity came and I got married. The babies did not happen, by the way. I don't have any children. So that was, not the marriage didn't work out either, but,
And that was your first marriage you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I did want to become a professional in some sort. I knew I had to take care of myself.
Okay.
And tried my hand at, a couple different things and actually was in medical profession as far as front desk scheduler and all that, medical records, that kind of stuff. And that was good. That, didn't work out. When that didn't work out, the job market was so slim. And I remember I had bought a car a couple years prior to that. And it was not a good experience, but my salesperson reached out to me one day randomly and she says, happy anniversary. It's been 2 years since you bought your car. How is everything? And I said, well, it would be great if I had a job and I could pay for it. And she says, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, medical office, looking for an office job, want to work, 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and know what I'm getting paid. And she says, well, we're hiring. I said, oh no, I'm not going to work Saturdays and nights and not know what I'm going to get paid. And so another month goes by and I still don't have a job. So I went into the dealership and I applied and they said, can you pass a drug test? And I said, of course I can. Okay. Well, you go take this test and we'll see you on Monday.
And where was this? Was this in California?
No, this was actually in South Bend, Indiana.
Okay, so you went back to Indiana after. Yeah. Okay, so your first car dealership job was at what dealership? Like when it comes to like Ford versus whatever.
Well, oddly enough, this dealership, I was out my office, my desk was out of a Dodge Chrysler Jeep store.
Okay,
but that family, that auto group, had 17 different new car lines that were all on the same, like right next to each other.
Oh, okay.
So they were lined up. They called it the Magnificent Motor Mile. And it was longer than a mile, but we had everything.
Okay.
The only thing I could not sell at that time, we had a Mercedes store and you had to be certified in that brand to sell there. And then our Chevy dealership was actually owned by another company. And I think there might have been one or two, but everything.
So when you started, you said, did you have to work your way up to a salesman, or did you
No.
automatically started that way?
Automatically started that way. They basically said, okay, there's your desk, there's your phone, there's your inventory. Good luck. And I did great. It was wild because the people that had been there for a while, there was me and I think 5 other salespeople at the time. They had become a little complacent. Mm-hmm. You know, I was all hyped up and ready to go, and I didn't realize any negative side to the car business. I just was like, okay, what do you mean I can make money? Uncapped income potential.
Yeah. Like if you sell 5 cars today,
right,
you're going to make a lot of money today.
Absolutely.
But what about if you don't sell 5 more cars for 5 more months?
Yeah, and I understand. Yes. Then you're what they call digging yourself into a hole, because they'll give you a little minimum wage check, but they take that back when you sell your next one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Take
your check back?
Yes. So
okay.
For instance, to keep you going, you get $200 a week to live off of. When you sell that $1,000 deal, they take however many weeks of that $200 back out of that. So
how can I do that?
It's called a draw. There are a lot of rules that don't apply to salespeople. As far as I got into this with my brother the other day, he says, well, do you get a lunch? And I said, well, I don't take a lunch, because if I'm not there selling cars, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
He says, no, by law, they have to pay you overtime if you work over 8 hours. And I'm like, no, that's not the case either.
No.
They have to give you 30 minutes for lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. And I'm like, no, those are also things that do not apply. I'm just there. I'm almost like an independent contractor.
Yeah.
I get out of it what I put into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you started in Indiana, where you were at your first dealership, and then you met Daryl, your current husband, and then y'all moved to Alabama.
We moved to Nashville first.
Oh, moved to Nashville, then moved to Huntsville, where you now work at Woody Ford.
Yes, I'm at Woody Anderson Ford, and I'll tell you, the reason we came here, part of it was, it is a female-run business, which I appreciate, a family-run business with ethics and core values. They're going to give a fair deal to everybody. It whatever makes sense. Some of these bigger companies that have multiple, they're all about making all the money.
Yeah.
She wants to take care of the community.
That's good.
She wants to take care of her salespeople. And if we're happy, then we're going to give a happy experience. And it's...
and we've always said that, because like working at a hospital, I've never understood why administration doesn't want, I'm not going to say they don't want their employees to be happy, but it seems that way when you're not getting breaks and you're not getting raises and you're not getting, praised for the good work you are doing. It's like, well, you realize if I was happier, you would, number one, retain people that you wouldn't have to then continue to pay to train. And then you would also have happy patients who also do the mandated government survey that gets you money.
Yes, it does. It does make sense.
It's full circle.
I went to Disney training, and I can't even remember which dealerships sent me. I've only been to three dealerships, but one of them sent me.
Yeah. So 3 dealerships altogether.
Yep.
Okay, that's not bad, because a lot of people hop dealerships.
Well, they will never be successful, because where a auto salesperson will make their money is to stay in one spot.
Okay.
The average person trades their car between every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you treat them right and you follow up and you follow through with all of their requests and all the stuff that you promised them when the first deal happened, they should come back to you.
Because they remember that good experience. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they know you're going to follow through.
Absolutely. And that you're going to be
sense.
there. Because I've been to, before I started selling cars, you'd go in and talk to one salesperson, you come back a week later and, oh no, they quit. They're over at someplace else. No, I've been at Woody's for 8 years. I plan on being there 8 more. And I've got great friends and family that are here that I've met some most wonderful people in this car business that no matter what, they come back.
So with the 3 dealerships that you've worked at,
Mm-hmm.
you obviously said that a woman called you and she was your dealer. So how many women have you worked with between the 3 as a salesperson?
Okay. So at my first dealership, there were 2.
Was that including you?
No.
Okay, so 3 including
Yep.
you. Okay.
Yep. So there were 3. So me and Mean Jean Green, who is just she's a dear friend of mine still to this day. She was a hoot. And then Susan was the one that called me, and she didn't stay a whole lot longer after I started. I want to say she may have been there another year.
Okay.
And then there were none in Tennessee. I was. They had not had any female.
You were the first
I
female?
was.
Oh,
And
wow. How
then,
did that feel?
Very interesting. And it's sometimes they say it's a good old boys club and they'll do favors for their own and whatever. But after time, it was the norm. And I like being kind of the one and queen bee, we'll just call it. Mm-hmm. Somebody can say, hey, I can't remember her name, but I talked to a lady the other day.
Yeah.
When they come back, there's no disputing who that is. Where if somebody says, I don't know, I talked to some salesman, I didn't keep his card. It could be anybody. You got to go through the gambit. Is he skinny? Is he fat? Is he tall? Is he short? Does he have hair? But when they say it's, the only woman. Now this dealership, we have gone through, many women have come and gone in the 8 years I've been there.
Are you currently the only one?
One just started last week. Another one. So
how does that feel? Like, is there any, and I'm not saying any, we don't have to say names of dealerships or anything like that, but like how they've made it where like men were getting paid more, or were they getting better deals on the cars, or were they pushing for the man to get the sale versus you? Like the sexism in what we know as the good old boys club did you see any of that you had to like lobby for, or be like, no, this isn't right, or anything like that?
Without a doubt, it definitely still exists, and there is some of that. And I want to say there was that in probably all 3 dealerships, and it's an underlying thing.
Well, I think it's still an underlying thing in general in business, where women are still not as equal to quote unquote men.
Right.
Because we forget that women were just allowed to vote not that very long ago.
That's very true.
Like 1950s? I could be wrong. I'm not a good history.
That's
but
right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, it wasn't that long ago. We act like it was something in the 1700s. No.
Right.
Like 50, 60 years ago.
And I have had people come in, actual customers come in, and they assume I don't know anything about trucks.
Okay.
I don't know anything about,
because you're a woman.
Souped up cars and they'll ask me trick questions. They'll be like, so what's the horsepower? All right. It's 420 horsepower and 365 foot-pounds of torque.
But did you feel like you had to push and work harder to know those facts?
Yes.
Because they would ask you stupid shit that you knew that anybody could read off a pamphlet just to, like you said, just to see if you knew.
Absolutely. Thinking that they were going to get the opportunity to say, can we get somebody that knows a little bit more? Okay. Because they really wanted a male salesperson. Yeah. It's changed a little bit. There's a shift. We still have people that come and say, I'd like a female salesperson.
Okay.
And
well, I'm sure that as a woman being a customer, and I've only bought like 3 cars I went shopping for, and I hate doing it. I went to Toyota, I went to Acura and Honda, no females there, here in Huntsville. And I always feel like the men that talk to me, because I am a woman looking for a car, but I've also done my research and I'm very good with my money, then I'm not going to let you just trick me and say anything that you want to me. I'm going to walk out the door, because like 9 out of 10 times people who are buying a car know what they want. Right? Like, and if
that
you
is
try
the case
to,
now. Yes.
Yeah. If you try to upset, they're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I think I would prefer now talking to a woman. So it's not like that, like stop being skeezy, stop trying to act like I'm stupid because I'm a woman, and be like, oh, you don't want that car. Like you want this one over here. Yeah. So I think that would be a thing coming now, because a lot of women are like, I think I'd be more comfortable with a woman.
And they feel like we are less intimidating. Yeah. We are not going to pressure them. And I don't. I am in every review and Google review and all that. It says it was low pressure, very informative. She gave me all the information that I wanted, and I never felt pressured. And that is give me somebody that's going to say, you know what? I'm going to give you the finance person that I would put my mother with, that I would put my child with, kind of thing. How I started, I mean, when I really bought in and said, I like what I do, I'm going to do this. It was, I want women, young people buying their first car, and old people, believe it or not, the elderly, crimes against the elderly, those people need to be taken out and strung up. But they want to take advantage of all of these people. So when a young person comes in and they're buying their first car, I want to go slow and explain this whole process. Because everybody has told them, their parents have told them whatever, don't do this. You can't do this on your own. Women, you can't do it. Take a man with you. Yeah. No, we're not all going to take advantage of you. We're here to assist you with the purchase of your vehicle. That's it. And make sure you're making the best and wisest decision. So you should always feel like you can go in and do something, even though you are super, super confident. You're good.
Sometimes. No, but so I looked up some facts about this, and I didn't know if you knew this, but it makes sense now talking about it. So did you know that only 19% of in car dealerships are women, but that doesn't mean that they're selling cars. That means 19% of women work in a dealership. I could not find a fact on what percentage of the 19% actually sold the cars.
And that is interesting, because I'd imagine it just like our dealership, the back office staff, majority women.
Yeah, but it's 19% in the car dealership.
In the car dealership altogether. Wow.
And then it said that 90% of those women leave within 12 months.
That is true. And when women, especially young women, are looking for a job and they come in and they think they want to sell cars, it's a lot of hours. It's inconsistent pay. A lot of competition. You see it, and you do see the favoritism, or what appears to be that way. You've got somebody that's been there longer than you, and they hangs out and goes golfing with, the general sales manager or whatever, and he's getting what they call house deals. He gets, your boss's buddy wants to come in and buy a car, and it's all a done deal. And they just walk them over and say, "Hey, can you do this paperwork?" That is so true that it happens. And working for a female-owned business has not really changed much of that either. I mean, it still happens at our dealership.
I need to get her on this podcast since we interview women-owned businesses.
Absolutely.
That would be good.
Absolutely.
Okay,
she's got good stories to tell. But this, I tell them, if your plan is to get married and have a family, selling cars is not conducive with raising children. Yeah. Because if you're not there, you're not making money. And there are expectations from us when we are part of a family that, okay, the house is going to get cleaned and dinner's going to get cooked. And
I mean, you are gone a lot.
Yeah.
Like you work, you have one day off a week.
That's it. I call that my Cinderella day. That's when I dress in rags.
Even on the day that you would get, like, during the week, you would get a day off and you'd be like, I'm going to work. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you going to work?
Because that's how I make my money.
Okay,
to feed the cows.
Questions about the cars, and then we're switching gears to your favorite subject in life.
Move.
Cows. So, one, I just think it's hilarious that I'm going to ask you this because my stepdad always liked Ford trucks when I was growing up, but I can't remember. No, I can't remember. My uncle liked them, and then my stepdad liked something else. I don't know. They always argued. He'd be like, I would never be found in a Ford. It's found on the roadside dead. How do you feel about that statement?
That is actually a very good question. Because I started out at Dodge Chrysler Jeep, selling Dodge trucks. And then in Nashville, I worked for a Chevy store. Okay. And I always found it interesting because people would come on the Chevy lot and talk about how great the F-150 is. Or it's not a Super Duty. I didn't really get what all the fuss was about. Yeah. Because we'd get them in used and whatever. I'm like, okay, it's a truck, it's a truck, it's a truck. Yeah. And of course, when any brand, they're going to send you to training to talk up their brand and compare the two or whatever. Coming over to Ford and selling them and driving them every day, it is a far superior truck.
Oh, for sure. My uncle wouldn't buy anything other than a Ford.
The price tag is higher, without a doubt. You get that money back when you go trade it in or whatever. If you're somebody that trades, it's worth more than a Chevy or a Dodge or,
you always have to have the limited edition ones.
Right. Absolutely. But as far as what it is designed to do to actually be a working person's truck, there's more room. It's the durability, all that. And there are people that have never dawned the door of a Ford store. The technology that goes into the Ford product is incredible. And I've watched this kind of progress to where everybody used to say the Hondas and the Toyotas and your imports, their reliability and all of that is there. And there was a point in time when that was very, very true. And they cornered their market. So a Camry buyer, for instance, would buy their Camry or lease their Camry, and then in 3 years they'd come back and say, oh, I want another Camry, but this time I want a blue one or I want a red one. And they'd get the same car.
Yeah.
So those imports, they didn't have to do leaps and bounds to improve their product. Ford, and I'm just going to say all the domestics, they knew that in order to take a piece of that market, they had to give the most content for less money.
Yeah.
So all of the safety features and all of that are far superior than those imports because...
Well, I mean, even the cars that you brought home that are new and like everything, which still haven't got to see the Bronco, but we're not going there. All the ones that I would see, you'd be like, oh, come over and look at this. There was an all-electric one or something that you brought home. And I was like, Ford makes an all-electric car?
And they're actually coming out with an all-electric truck.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Yeah, you said something. You said a random fact the other day about the tornadoes or something in Texas or hurricanes or something, and Ford donated their trucks that have all the electric or something.
Yes,
on them.
what the Ford did when Texas had their flooding and tornadoes and storms, and there were like millions without power. The dealerships essentially sent their trucks out, and you could power your entire house off of an F-150.
Which is cool.
It makes, you just plug it into the bed of the truck and you can run your entire house.
Craziness.
And there again, that goes back to being a working truck. So somebody's out at a job site or something and needs to cut a piece of wood or something. You strap it to the little tailgate and there's a little measuring thing and you plug your skill saw into the back and you cut it right there, and it's perfect. It's a working person's truck and it's fantastic. So Ford is coming out with some great things.
So my last question is there a difference in how you can become a salesperson for like Ford, Toyota, Nissan versus like if you go to Jaguar, Volvo, at, all the luxury brands, or can you go from one to another?
So the basics of selling a car are all the same, and it doesn't matter what you're selling because it's not about the car.
Yeah.
It's about your relationship with people and being able to sit down and say, okay, now let's get to know each other. What are you using it for? What do you want? What's your budget? Withholding what you want to use this vehicle for or what your budget is doesn't ever help you, the consumer.
Yeah.
When you go in.
That's like me when I went into the Volvo store. Knew I couldn't afford it, but I was like, yeah, I want to see this car. Here's
the thing. Your time is valuable.
Oh, yeah. It was a complete waste of time because when they came back with the price, I was like, I'll let you know. Bye.
Well, they should have asked you right up front, what are we thinking? When you go in and say, I need to be at $250 a month, the next question should have been, why?
Yeah.
Because I remember when back in the 90s, I needed a $200 a month car payment.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't get me very much, but cars didn't cost that much either.
Yeah.
$200, a $200 payment is $10,000. Do you know what you get for $10,000?
Nothing.
A rolling wreck.
Yeah, nothing now.
No, it doesn't. But I remember it used to buy you a halfway decent car.
Oh, my hybrid was in the 30s.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I probably could have got that Volvo, but we won't go there. So I guess do they only accept certain people in luxury car brands, or do you have to know someone to get a job there?
There are probably dealerships that look for a certain appearance in a person.
Okay. Gotcha.
They may have a tendency to not like overweight people. They may have a tendency to not like bearded men or women for that matter. I think you have to have a certain look to work at certain dealerships.
Yeah.
I have learned that just because someone looks the part doesn't mean they're going to be good at it.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Because it shouldn't be about how I, the salesperson, look. It's about you.
Well,
you're the consumer. You're the one spending the money.
That's the same in my job. Like, you'll have the smartest person in nursing, the smartest person who could spit off facts, could tell you the whole anatomy of their body, but they couldn't take care of a patient to save their life because they suck with people.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyone can learn something. Right. Trained monkeys do it.
Yes, and I tell people that you can't teach people to care
Mm-hmm.
about the other person, and have empathy.
Yeah.
And they look at it for themselves, and it's a bad experience. And just like in the medical field, there's a survey that comes after you buy a car.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah,
somebody
mine's never
feels
good.
like it was strictly business and yeah.
I said mine's never good. I'm always strictly business now. Okay. To be fair, when I started initially before I got burned out, I cared a little bit too much. And then it became across as anger because I cared too much and I was very upset at the situation, not the person. Kind of like now, like healthcare has went to shit. Like if you come in there, yes, I want to care about you, but how can I care about you as an individual when I have to care about 100 other people as well and the building is on fire at the same time?
If you get a person that comes in and you're in that mode where you're just like, I'm here, I'm doing a million things and you have no idea, but they actually want to know how to fix their problem. They want to get better.
And I think that's different. I think it's different when someone comes in and they actually want to get better or they actually need my help versus these people who do not.
So your attitude changes after that.
Oh, for
too.
sure.
Yeah.
Because but then it also becomes more angry that someone will be dying and you're doing CPR on them and the person next door will be like, I want a water and a turkey sandwich. And when you try to explain to them like, hey, I'm over here, we're doing CPR. And they go, I don't care. That's when you become enraged and you're like,
yes,
seriously? You care more about your turkey sandwich and cup of water versus this person losing their life? Like, and that's when you want to just explode through the roof. And you're like, and there's 100 other people that need me too.
yes.
Not to go off on a tangent, but
But no, that's a very, very valid thing. And that happens. That does happen in almost every industry, I think.
It does.
Where you have to deal with people. Because I have people that come in and go, well, who wants to sell a car today? I pretty much know that that's not going to go well.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where we all have to look at ourselves, like you said, and it comes down to you and your personality and what you want from another person. I finally realized, like, I have to take myself out of this situation because I'm not caring anymore. Not because I don't care about the patient. It's because I can't do the stress and the building burning and me walking into fire every single day.
Which is why you made a subtle change.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. Absolutely. I mean, it's not like you made a drastic change and you're not all of a sudden, a beautician.
But there are a bunch of people that are doing that, like going from nurse practitioner to engineer.
Wow. Well, and that's
healthcare is on fire. I mean, it's just on fire. Long story. We're not getting into that.
Education. Same things going on with education.
But transitioning back, you moved from Nashville to Huntsville, Alabama 8 years ago.
Yes.
And you bought the house you're currently in. No. That's wrong. You were in an apartment first.
We were in an apartment. We actually lived in the same apartment complex. Didn't know each other.
But we lived in the same apartment complex because I lived there since 2010.
Yes.
Now we're neighbors.
Yeah.
So when did you buy or how did you buy this house that you're in now?
Okay. So we were very, very unsure whether we were even going to stay here. So we wrote out our lease at the apartment, did a 13-month lease. And then after that, we went month to month.
Don't ever do that.
For 6 years.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
I had never planned,
wasted a lot of money.
but we knew. We knew that at some point in time we were not going to do that. And whether we moved away or back home to Indiana or wherever. Well, it got to the point where paying the month to month an apartment for 6 years. And then things got really, really good in the auto industry, and they recognized my husband for the talents that he has, and they said, yep, we want you here. We'd like you to put down some roots. So we said, okay, we're going to start looking for a house. And so we went and looked at other people's houses. We knew what area we kind of wanted to be in. And you go into somebody else's house and it just doesn't feel like yours.
Yeah.
So we said, well, let's wing it. Let's go look at these woodland homes that they're building in Harvest, and went and looked at the spec house or whatever, the little open house. And we went in there and I said, I really, really like this
I'm pretty
house.
sure that's my house that you looked at.
Yes.
That was the spec home.
Yes.
Yes, guys, it's fabulous.
It is. I said, but I want to take this house and I want to move it over there.
Yeah.
So at the end of the cul-de-sac, it has this amazing view of this beautiful pasture and
Which
the sun.
I'll post that picture when I post this. A lot of people who follow me see it because I post it a lot.
Yes.
But the way what you're about to explain, everyone, I will post a picture when I post the episode release.
Wonderful. All right. Yes. So you look out there, the sunrise comes up over the mountain, and it's just, I said, I want to build this house and I want to put it over there. And they said, we can do that. And I was like, we can? That's fantastic. So it was 6 months to build the house. And this was 3 years ago. I didn't realize that the cows were going to be such a big part of everything. I knew they were out there. I knew it was a pasture. I knew it was beautiful, whatever. So we had been here in this house a couple weeks, and the cows would come up to the fence, and we didn't know. I mean, that it was okay to pet a cow, feed a cow.
Well, because a lot of cows are mean. Like but it's all in how you raise an animal.
Yes. And neither one of us, my husband or myself, grew up on a farm or around animals like that.
Which is what's hilarious, because you would think that would be something that was always ingrained in you. Like, oh, we've had all these pets our whole life, or, oh, I've, lived on a farm, or my friend lived on a farm. Because now you have how many cows?
170. Yeah, no, growing up, I had an outside dog. My mom said, that stinky dog's not coming in the house. It can be outside. Yeah. Looking back, I'm like, no, we really should have had a inside dog.
Yeah.
Because I love animals. I really, really do. And I knew that my husband, Daryl, I knew that he loved animals, and dogs and that was part of our thing. When we build this house, we can get a fence and we can get a dog. It's not fair to the dog because we work 60 plus hours a week. So other than getting dogs, we got a whole herd of cows. But we had been here a couple weeks, and Calvin, the farmer, comes by. He says, I just want to introduce myself. These are my cows. And I said, can we feed them? He said, yeah, absolutely. What do they eat? Anything. If you can put it out there and they eat it, the table scraps, leftovers, whatever. Well, it started out, they love bread. Yeah. So I started out, I trained them to come to the fence and be friendly with a loaf of bread. I'd buy, 10 loaves at a time. I'd be like, this is for my cows, And then winter came, and we knew that they needed hay because the grass would. So we're like, okay, we'll get a couple bales of hay, which turned into
couple bales, my ass,
20 bales to 25 bales a week, and then feed. And then medicine, we ended up getting Phantom, which I'm sure you've posted a picture of. Oh, yeah. She was a bottle baby. So Calvin and Sandra Smith.
But how did you get Phantom?
Well, that was
that was your first cow.
That was our first, yes. So Phantom was born to a mom that rejected her. It was a first-time mom. She essentially popped Phantom out and took off and never came back.
And you told me, just for the listeners, that there's only a few reasons why cows reject their offspring.
Yes. Sometimes if it's a twin and it's a boy and a girl, they'll take care of one and not the other.
Okay.
Sometimes if it's sick,
they won't take care of it.
Right. Phantom had to be pulled. So
okay.
Meaning this mom was having a hard delivery, and essentially farmer got out there and pulled her out, and it was traumatic for her, especially for her first birth. I mean, if you can imagine, I think I'd probably run too. So she took off, and she just didn't know what to do. It was traumatic. She was gone, whatever. So they kept Phantom for 4 days, for the first 4 days, which was probably a good thing because I didn't know everything then that I know now. Super crucial that when a calf is born, that it gets colostrum. So you're talking the mother's milk has proteins and enzymes and minerals, things that baby needs to survive. If they do not get colostrum, they will die within 10 days.
Yeah. Y'all had a little baby calf that did that.
We did. Very sad. Absolutely. And I'm not sure whether little Groucho had colostrum or not. I mean, we had another one that was abandoned, or whether it was a naval infection. But the naval infection thing is something I learned this past year on how to care for it and look for it and see the signs. But every year that I take care of these cattle, I learn something very, very new. And that was the thing that I learned.
And just for everyone, because I know I have some friends out there listening, these cows are not beef slaughter cows, so you don't have to worry about that. These are like friendly pet cows that are named.
Yes.
They all have names.
They
okay?
all have names,
So
170.
don't worry about the slaughterhouse for these cows. They do get sold to other farms for breeding purposes, but not for slaughter.
There are a couple different types of cattle operations. We are what they call a cow-calf operation, meaning our cows have free reign of 200 acres at all times. So they get to eat grass or whatever. They're not stuck in a barn. They're not, they just get to roam freely.
And they do. And they have their little pattern times where they come up in the morning, they roam around each day, and then they come back at night.
Yes. And they're here to make babies. We're not selling them to slaughter or any of that stuff. We do, because you can't have too many males or else you end up with chaos. Mm-hmm. The women are fine. So when the boys are about a year old, then they will go to sale and hopefully go to another farm to make more babies.
Yeah.
That isn't always the case, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, so this past season we sent like 12 about 1-year-old boys. Mm-hmm. Went, and if you've got good stock, this is the great thing. So if you've got good bulls, mm-hmm. another farmer is going to pick them up to service their herd.
Yeah. To make prize winning or...
That's right.
But these cows, which is funny because my friend just built their house in Tennessee, and she has cows in her backyard that are someone else's cows. And when she would post the picture of those cows and how fat and huge those cows were, I was like, oh my God, your cows are so fat. And she would do the same. Like if I posted a picture, she'd be like, those cows are so skinny. And I was like, these are grass-fed cows. Yours are antibiotic and corn and soy. And think about that, people. What is that doing to our bodies?
Yes. And that is probably what they call a feed.
They slaughter them.
Yes.
They're trying to make them as fat as they can.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they will take those boys or whoever they pick up and they keep them in a smaller pasture, and they just feed them constantly grain and everything else.
Oh, they were huge.
To put the weight on them. And then that's what
But like
is
it was
eaten.
funny because like these cows are so much, because you'll say they're fat because you're like, these cows are so happy and fat because you feed them so much hay, but
yes,
they're not fat compared to
once they're fattened up to go to slaughter, right? And you got to figure they're getting, those farmers, they invest more because it costs more for the feed and the protein and stuff and whatever. They're the ones that are in it for the profit. But if you look at it, it's very interesting. They may get paid 48 to 50 cents a pound.
Oh, wow.
And what are we paying for steaks?
Yeah.
$9.99, $10.99 and up.
Now, can you eat beef?
So I do eat beef. I mean, that's.
I was gonna be like, do you not look out, like if you're eating a steak and you look outside and see the cows, do you not go, oh
no? I look at them and say, it's no one we know.
That it might be one that you sold last
I understand.
year.
I understand, but it's no one we know. I tell them verbally. I actually speak it. I'm like, this is a tasty steak, but it's no one we know. Don't worry, you're not going anywhere.
Because some people, when they start like taking care of certain animals, they'll be like, I can't. Because when my niece got a pet pig, mm-hmm. she could no longer eat pork. She was like, I can't do it.
It's true. I mean, that, and I get that, but it also is the beef industry, and I have to show. I eat less beef. We'll just say it that way. I eat far less than I used to. But I have to be supportive, because if everybody stopped eating beef, I would.
Well, I'm not pro or con like eating meat. Like I do have a friend that's vegan and she's very passionate about it, and that, that's great. But I tried to be vegetarian. I think I lasted 9 months. And I think for me, it's more about the economics and it's more about the health of my body. So mm-hmm. if you are eating these cows that are fed soy, corn, and they're cheap as hell cows, then what is that doing to your body? Because what you're eating, you're still getting that portion of that meat, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So like if you've ever had, because even my friend who finally got some grass-fed, mm-hmm. grass-finished, pasture-raised beef,
yes,
is so much more water consistency than the whatever you pick up at Walmart.
Yes.
you know.
And those are probably shipped in from Brazil. And I'll tell you, overseas, Colombia, Brazil, whatever, they will ship entire boatloads of cattle over here for that same
I mean,
purpose.
I definitely pay more for my meat, but it's worth it to me.
Yes. And that was kind of what I was saying. If you can find somebody who is going to butcher a local grass-fed whatever, you're supporting a small business. You are supporting local farmer.
Well, it's also not just that. It's like also rotation of, I don't know how to explain this because I've heard it a long time ago, but it's rotation of animals and crops. And like you're rotating everything around so it's not staying in the same spot.
Correct.
So that you're killing, because if you keep it in the same spot, that's the things we need to do away with. So I completely understand people being vegan and things like that. But what we really need to get away with is slaughterhouses and these just massively, like, I'm going to grow it as fast as for money, for profit, because you want to be rich, not because you're trying to feed the economy or you're trying to make someone healthy or you're trying to do the right thing for the environment or whatever. Because people who say that global warming doesn't exist, hello, it's 70-something degrees in December in Alabama,
yes.
and now we're worried about tornadoes.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Don't talk to me about global warming not existing.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. But I will tell you right now that it does not stem from cow farts.
No. I'm just saying, like, cow farts.
No, that's actually a thing that they're stating is that's why we need to close down these dairy farms and beef farms, is because the methane that is given is causing global warming.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this, but as humans, we don't need cow milk. Because there's been a lot of recent research about this hormone BH something that is in cow milk that cows need, because it's a hormone that we do not need.
To say that it's a necessary, what do we need?
Well, we do not need dairy to survive. Okay.
But there are people that enjoy some ice cream, and that would be me.
That's enjoying it.
Right.
But that's
I'm not saying it's necessary.
Milk, like 3 and 4 gallons of milk for your home to drink and put in cereal. And
people do that?
Yes. That is what they're saying about these dairy farms. And that's why they're, like, I don't know if you've seen the horrific videos on Facebook where they're ripping the baby calves from the mom so that they can get the milk. And
here's, so I follow a dairy farmer out of Oregon, and it's really interesting because if you take a beef calf from its mother, it's traumatic. Mm-hmm. There's screaming and crying and bellowing for days. Dairy cows are not that way. So what you're seeing is a beef cow, a beef calf taking from, which the response is very, very different.
But regardless, you're taking something that would be the same as if you had babies year after year after year, and I just ripped it off your tit and said, they don't need this. They'll figure it out. No, they're going to die.
Yeah.
They can't go eat grass or eat food because whereas a cow, they can start eating grass at, I don't know.
And there is a place, and I have seen that same video that you speak
I'm just
of.
Saying, like, that would be the same thing, but we don't think of it that way because this is an animal to us. But think about it. If I ripped your baby off your tit 3 days after it was born and said, figure it out.
Yeah, the humans are going to take your baby's milk.
And the human's going to be, that's called child abuse. And that's called you're going to jail because you can't do that.
That brings up a very interesting thing. You're saying it's child abuse, and I'm sorry if there's anybody in Oregon listening, but they're trying to pass a law that it should be illegal to artificially inseminate cows because they're saying that cow did not give consent.
Well, I can see that.
You have seen kind of the mounting process that happens.
Yes, it's very traumatic. I don't like it.
Right. So I don't think I've ever heard any of my ladies out there consent to Doug to, do what he does.
No, they run from him.
They do. So it's safer as far as for injury purposes. I think we should all have better things to focus on.
For sure. But I think that I don't know if it would be a focusing thing or more that we do need to improve it and make it stop being about the money and about getting these rich people richer and make it more about, okay, so you're actually concerned about the economy. You're actually concerned, like, let's make it a farm that because that's going to cost you more money.
Right. And that's why, but throwing the whole non-consensual thing I thought was a little bit crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they
I
also
can
say
see it, though.
they'll say if they pass that, that those folks can no longer have pest control. You cannot go in and have anybody exterminate your house because you're killing animals. That's in that same whatever. So you can't. I mean, there's all kinds of additive things that are saying that it's all about the animal rights kind of thing, and it seems just like they've taken it too far. They're going to see how
everything
far.
Always goes to. It's always to one extreme. Like that's why I'm saying like we don't need to go to one extreme versus the other, but we need to meet somewhere in the middle to where it's not harming the again, it goes back to not harming the economy and being just like if you're using it to feed people, great, but like even like when it comes to produce and vegetables, we're making these franken foods and beefing them up like these apples are the freaking size of your head.
Oh, right.
Doesn't need to be done.
And they taste like nothing.
But you see what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying like it goes all around where we need to all do better.
But they can do that and they have to produce fewer of them other than having that small family orchard that has the real deal, you know.
They're saying they do it because what was it? They said they do it because if they didn't do that, then we would run out of food. That's what they said. They said if they didn't mass produce everything that they do, we would run out of food.
Interesting.
That's their reasoning behind it. Whether that's true or not, I obviously don't know. I haven't done complete research. But what I do know and what I've seen about it, like even like Tyson chicken, everyone should boycott Tyson chicken. The way they treat their chickens and what they're doing, where they're growing 3 and 4 and 5 heads. Probably not 5, but like
probably not 5.
Like,
we're gonna stop at 4.
Have you seen the documentary where they've got like boils and pustules on them, and they're still killing them and feeding them?
Yes, to you. I've seen that, and I've seen that they keep them in those little pens, 100 deep, and they don't. That is no life for an animal.
Well, then when people say like, oh, it's too expensive to buy like pasture raised eggs, like because pasture raised means they get like these cows,
right?
200 acres to roam, do whatever they want,
That's
eat
right.
bugs, you know. Well, yeah, they're expensive right now because no one's buying them. So it costs more and it takes longer to raise those chickens than it would be if they were beefing them up and fattening them up. But if everyone was buying them, then the price would go down. Because when I first started buying pasture-raised eggs, they were $6 a carton.
Yeah.
They're I think,
$3
at Walmart,
something now?
I think at Walmart, they're $3 a carton now.
Okay.
So, yeah, a lot of people go, $3 for eggs. Yeah, that's still expensive compared to your 99-cent carton.
Well, how about if I put a couple chickens in the backyard and we eat their eggs?
Right?
Yeah.
Save me a lot of money.
I will tell you that farm raised fresh eggs, and I actually get them from somebody who has chickens and at their house. They'll bring me a couple dozen a week. It is a tastier egg than anything that we buy at the store.
Healthier for sure. Like if you just look at the color at it alone, like the 99-cent carton one is like.
So,
like a fluorescent yellow.
I mean, homesteading. Those people that have a couple chickens for eggs, and they have they have a goat, and they have a couple cows, and I think it's a fantastic idea. I really do.
Well, I mean, I know we just got way off topic.
Yes,
with the cows, but that's what me and you do when we start getting in a conversation.
And none of your podcasts run in a straight line.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Which is what makes it interesting.
That was nonsense.
That's right.
But no, so like I know that there have been rumors and talks, and my friends know about this, about developers buying, because Huntsville's growing so fast that they want that land.
So, yeah, it's amazing how. So this is leased land that is back here, meaning the farmer has leased it for, almost 20 years. And then all of a sudden the owner, which she doesn't even live here, she inherited it from her grandparents. She married into the Maxwell House heir.
Oh, the coffee?
Yes.
Oh, damn. Okay,
so
she don't need it no more.
No. Well, it was never an income for her.
Then let it go.
Let it be.
If you don't need the money,
yes,
let it be a pasture.
Her grandparents.
If you're listening to this fucking podcast,
that's right.
Fucking pasture.
Yes, your grandparents would be so disappointed in you. They are looking down right now, saying, "I hope she burns. I want those cows to stay on that land."
Lord bless. So are you technically considered a farmer if you only have cows?
Yes.
I didn't know if like a farmer meant like you had to have like
multiple,
or like
There's a barn up there.
There's a barn, but I was trying to think of like a vegetable garden and like everything.
No, there are people that have just cows. There are people that raise just corn. There's people that just raise chickens.
So it's considered a farmer if you do any of that kind of...
Correct.
Okay. So in you being a female in that industry, did you know, fact, looked up, 36% of farm operators are women, just 36%.
More than in the car business. That's surprising.
And it's right, and it says this one's rising.
Yes. So I have joined some groups of ag women. And I believe, and this is kind of a great thing, and I don't know a lot of reasons, I believe there are grants and things that are more readily available to women in the farming industry.
That makes sense.
So I'm really excited about that. Starting out, I know that we're going to need some help to actually buy our land that can't be sold out from under us.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing. And equipment and barns, and there's always some fence work that needs to be done. That fence, I'm telling you, is going to be the death of me.
Yeah, our not community, but neighborhood.
Yes.
Hates Stephanie and them because the cows get out.
Every day. They're saying, well, you
There's
got
a
a
Facebook
cow in the
post.
road. The cow, here's the other thing. So if you live near us and you drive down our road and you see a cow on the side of the road, it is not like a deer or a dog. It is not going to jet out in front of you.
They actually just stare at you and chew.
Yes. If you honk at them, they'll jump the fence and go back in, usually, except for that we have one that's just stubborn.
It's funny because a lot of people at work, when I initially started like posting the cows that would pet them and actually go in the field, they'd be like, oh my God, those cows let you pet them? Like, our cows are mean. Like, and I just think it's cool that they do let like Mikey and Junior and all them let you pet them, and they give you kisses, and you know, until, you know, Phantom attacked me, but that's okay.
Oh, I think that was partially your fault.
It's not my fault. How is that my fault that I
mean,
let your cow
I
out?
watched it and you chose to stand in the corner of that game.
Oh yeah, I chose to do that. Mm-hmm.
No.
So last question.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite part of being in car sales and being a farmer?
Oh, all right. It really has to do with, it's a very similar answer to both. Favorite part of being a farmer is seeing the newborn babies and being able to help if you've got one that's sick or down, or, you know, just whatever. It's a beautiful thing to see and to know, look out there and go, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I helped
yeah.
raise that happy, healthy calf.
And they love you for that. Like, Phantom really truly thinks you're her mother.
Oh, yes.
She truly thinks that. I guess what they say, animals imprint like on you. Like, Phantom will literally, like, if Stephanie's out in the field, come running when she sees Stephanie.
Yes. Yeah, she does. I mean, and there's and I'll take her for a walk. And I mean, we do have a bond. And there are others. I've got, Dong had a broken leg last year, and I nursed him back to health. And to this day, he sees me and he gets excited, and he'll yell out, and he just comes up and he wants to snuggle. I've got one little one out there right now that I don't know if he's going to make it or not. He's got a severe compound break in his leg, but he's made it 2 months, and every time I see him, he gets stronger and stronger. And it took me going out there and giving him medicine and bracing it and wrapping it and whatever. I care for them like they are my children in some way. And it is that is the best part, is to see somebody make it and survive and reproduce.
So
and,
what's your favorite part about being a car salesman or salesperson?
When somebody comes to me and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the credit to do it. I don't know if I can, afford that payment. And I find them the right car and the right deal, and I talk them through, and they're no longer scared.
Yeah, that would be rewarding.
It's very rewarding when somebody's like, this right here was the best car buying experience I've ever had. Even when you got somebody that's bought a million cars other places, they buy a car every year, and they've never had an experience like it was with me, because I made it easy. I was respectful of their time, and they got a good quality product for an affordable price. That is the best part.
And then what's the worst for both?
Oh, so farming is a very romantic business. We'll call it that. So Sometimes one of the cows gets stuck in the mud and they don't make it, and I didn't find it, and I've lost several, and that's very, very hard. That part is harder than the waking up at 4:30 and taking feed out and coming home, and the fact that it's a responsibility. That I don't care. That's all part of it, and that's the work part of it. But when I lose one, it's hard for me because I do have that bond. Some farmers don't have that. They're numbers to them.
Yeah.
Mine have names, like you said. I've got them. I've got them all.
Ear tags. They have names.
Yes, they have names, and they'll come when you call them. That's the thing. They can all be in a group, and I'll call Mikey over, and Mikey will come over.
Mm-hmm.
You
they
know
their names, and that's crazy to me how smart cows are.
And most people think cows are dumb,
but they are smart, because we've recently started feeding them on the opposite side of Phantom's pen because of all the rain and the mud where we normally feed them, and it took 2 days. And then they've just been laying over there waiting on the opposite side of the pen, like, okay, this is where you're going to give me food?
I mean, they're very food motivated, grant you, but they are teachable.
To be like, okay, so this is where you want me to be. Okay,
right.
I'll be right here.
Yes, and you could with Phantom, I can ask her, where do you want this, and she'll point. With her nose, she'll point. I want it in the trough, or I want it over there, Or sometimes Sandy will look at me and go, hey, can you throw me a piece of bread over here so I don't have to fight for it? They communicate, and they are very, very smart.
Yeah.
The worst part of the car business is you go from 0 to 0 every single month.
Yeah.
You can come off of it's the best month you've ever had, and you help, and then all of a sudden the brakes are on, and all of a sudden I'm looking at myself, I'm questioning myself. I'm like, I couldn't sell a car to save my life. I can't close it. And then it gets to where I've lost it. I'm just going to retire and I'm going to be a farmer and that's it. Well,
okay. I know I said last question a minute ago, but seriously, last question. If you had to choose being a farmer versus being a car salesperson, like let's pretend you made the same amount of money doing both.
Oh,
if money wasn't an option.
That would be easy if all things were created equal financially. I would be a farmer.
Okay, because you just love being with the cows.
It gives me more satisfaction. I love being with them. It has lowered my husband's blood pressure.
Well, I'm just saying, how there's equine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
What about bovine therapy?
There is, and that's something you can actually Google. It does exist. Between all those cute little baby photos with them and a calf, there's like, here's this newborn baby and this newborn baby calf and in Chick-fil-A costume or whatever. The photography part of that, and then there is bovine therapy.
Yeah.
So it's where you can hug and kiss a cow and it just lay on a blanket and have a picnic, and it exists, but it doesn't exist in this area.
Well, there you go.
So absolutely,
and then you could be a female entrepreneur.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for coming over and talking shit with me about everything. But no, seriously, we went all over the place and around the world, from car salesperson to being a female farmer and all that in between, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been fantastic.
All right, guys, until next time, bye.